Welcome back to Morning Joe. Mike Barnacle.
You gotta do it.
And John Heilman are still with us. Joining us from Washington, Pulitzer Prize-winning columnist and associate editor of the Washington Post and MSNBC political analyst Eugene Robinson. And in Boston, former White House advisor for health policy, vice provost for global initiatives at the University of Pennsylvania, Dr. Zeke Emanuel joins us. So Zeke, I know we're going to talk about Obamacare, but I found this article about sitting too much being the new smoking.
I've heard this. I've heard this.
Tell me if any of this is wrong, doctor.
It's all
wrong. Sitting at work or at home for hours at a time could be cutting years off your life. It's not just trouble for our tushes. Keeping your cheeks planted poisons on the rest of the body as well, says a doctor from Ohio State University. Sitting is the new smoking. The doctor weighed in after researchers in Australia discovered that serial sitting slows the metabolism and increases the risk of a heart attack and stroke. Slugs who roost on their rumps at least 11 hours a day increase their death risk by 40%. Sitting
okay,
also,
we get the idea.
Wait, there's more.
No, we get the idea.
Sitting also suppresses the production of a molecule called lipoprotein lipase, which would otherwise metabolize fats.
I kind of believe it.
Makes your butt big.
What do you think?
I think moving around and exercise is always a good thing.
Yeah.
And almost all of us have the experience that we sit for 40 minutes and we sort of are sleepy.
What about 3
getting
hours?
And move?
Yeah.
Right. So getting and moving around is really important, and exercise is very important.
Okay, it sounds so
we all
simple,
know that.
what you're saying, Zeke, but we do have a society that actually is sitting for long periods of time, more and more,
Let's
at
go to news.
computer.
No, thank you. No.
That's why they also developed that walking desk, so you could stay active while you sit.
By the way,
we need a walking desk.
So Zeke's brother, Ari, because he's crazy as hell, Ari actually, his desk.
And I don't want to see this.
He's got a treadmill.
I don't want to see
he runs while he's on the phone swearing, throwing F-bombs, he goes, I can throw F-bombs, I can run, I can type. He does it all the desk. Willie Geiso, in defense of sitting.
Yes.
Okay, now think about this. In defense of sitting, I mean, our founding fathers signed the Declaration of Independence while sitting.
Yes.
Right? Right?
But they didn't eat.
The Magna Carta signed, King John was sitting.
Lennon and McCartney?
Lennon and McCartney,
songs written?
when they wrote, whether it was yesterday or tomorrow never knows, or I want to hold your hand when they're next to each other on the bed.
How do you know they were sitting?
That's not true.
You know what else?
Sitters of the world unite.
I like the fact that I think that story is, she's talking about cereal sitting. I think what they're just saying is you shouldn't be sitting there eating cereal all day.
All right. So USA Today headline, Mike Barnacle, a lot of people talking about this. Media is concerned that the White House is trying to criminalize journalism. Criminalizing journalism. This story goes on. James Rosen, Fox, of course, AP before that. It's just a total mess, and it's still driving, most read.
Well, it ought to. It ought to, because, I mean, not the intent of their actions, but the diligence of the Justice Department's reactions in going after a newspaper reporter, gathering a news story.
Can I ask you brought up the Justice Department. Does anybody here think the Justice Department should be the one investigating this or the IRS? Should a Justice Department this dysfunctional? I'm dead serious. Gene, let me go to you on this. Should a Justice Department that is involved in the IRS dust-up and especially this reporting dust-up, should the Justice, I mean, would we want John Mitchell investigating John Mitchell's Justice Department?
Well, I don't think it's John Mitchell's Justice Department.
I think in this area it's actually as bad as John Mitchell's Justice Department when you look at what they did with Fox News.
I don't think it's as bad as John Mitchell's Justice Department, but I've written a column about it. I think it was bad. I just don't think it was that bad. But should anybody investigate themselves? I don't think that's good practice. The question is, how do you do it? Who should be doing the investigation? I think we know what the investigation will find, which is that this administration has been overzealous. certainly to a fault in pursuing what I considered normal journalistic activity, and in tracking down leakers. They've prosecuted more than other administrations combined under the Espionage Act, and I hope that now that this has all come to light and people are talking about it, I hope they get it.
So here's what veteran journalist and longtime Washington reporter Bob Schieffer had to say about the way the Obama administration has handled the press.
It's reached the point that if I want to interview anyone in the administration on camera, from the lowest level worker to a White House official, I have to go through the White House press office. If their chosen spokesman turns out to have no direct connection to the story of the moment, as was the case when UN Ambassador Susan Rice was sent out to explain the Benghazi episode, then that's what we and you, the taxpayer, get. And it usually isn't much. So I am glad the president has asked the Attorney General to review whether his investigations into leaks is having a chilling effect on journalists, but it shouldn't stop there. The president needs to rethink his entire communications policy, top to bottom. It is hurting his credibility and shortchanging the public. And to head the review, how about someone other than the Attorney General, whose department is so deeply involved? That makes no sense to me.
That's Bob Schieffer on his show a couple of days ago. John Hellman, the other side of this, we're focusing on the journalist side, which is obviously critically important. But what about the source side, too? This sends the message to any source, anybody working inside the government who sees something wrong or unethical or bad for the country that says, your boss, the government is watching you. This chills leakers or sources.
What some might call whistleblowers.
Right.
Yes, I mean, the administration has been comprehensively bad on this topic, although I do think that the Rosen case really is a separate and egregious instance. I mean, the court filings in that case are chilling. I mean, the notion that there is not, you talked about John Mitchell, the Nixon administration, past administrations have talked about the notion of trying to accuse journalists of committing crimes.
Espionage.
Espionage as part of doing their jobs. None of them have ever done that before. I believe
until now.
I believe this is the first case in which an administration has gone to court and claimed that a journalist who was doing his job by receiving information from the government was committing a crime. That's a first, I think, and it is if you look at those documents, it is a chilling thing. It is a chilling thing.
It is really chilling, and Mike, John brings up a great point. This is the sort of thing that Richard Nixon would grouse about. And they're committing espionage, and Haldeman would say, yes, sir, Ehrlichman, yes, sir. But John Mitchell would never, ever file a subpoena in the federal district court trying to get information accusing a journalist reporting on Vietnam of espionage. That has happened now in the Obama White House.
Well, there's a significant difference between Richard Nixon and the transcripts of the tapes we've all read, in which he would articulate to Haldeman or Ehrlichman, we should do this with that SOB, we should do that. They never did anything.
Right.
They'd listen to him say, yeah, you're right, we'll get on it, and they never did anything. Right. You know, it was like listening to a crazy person, and obviously they'd say, okay, fine, we'll just ignore it. In this one, the web that they cast, and John, you're right. If you read what they did, I mean, Porter's parents were perhaps subject to surveillance and things like that. It's incredible to read.
Well, and monitoring the journalists' comings and goings of the State Department, the phone calls,
and the source.
The entire thing is really it's really disgraceful. I don't think we should in any way suggest that the comprehensiveness of the crimes that the Nixon administration committed were not of a different category because it reached across other elements of government.
You're talking about this one area
on the question of criminalizing the press. Right. This is a frontier the Obama administration has crossed with these court filings.
And it is important when people listen. We are not comparing President Obama to President Nixon or the crimes, but in this one area, as the USA Today says, talking about criminalizing the press. They have done things that no other administration, not even the Nixon administration.
Bob Schieffer's right, though. You need an independent prosecutor.
It can't be Eric Holder.
All right, let's move on.